So here we are. I've gone on to attach the pocket. So this is how it looks. And what I did was I ironed interfacing to this patch so that it could give it structure because it's very light. And I folded in 1/2 inch on the sides. After ironing the interfacing, I folded in 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and about 0.75 on the top because I used the 0.25 to finish off the edges. And because this is satin, what I did, I just took a lighter. You can use a candle, and I just burnt the edges, attached the lining, and then I just folded it in 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and then 0.75. And then I ironed it that way so that it would be easy when sewing. So I just placed it here to hide that stain that I had, and then I just stitched here. Okay, and I left the top part free. I made this stitch to keep this fabric inside, and so because if I left it like that, it would be flipping out. Okay, so this is how our apron looks so far. The next thing is now to attach the strings and then just stitch around. Very, very easy. So I have the strings here, as you can see. I went on to stitch them, so I just folded them into half and again into half. I showed you this before. Okay, you can rewind the video to see how I did the folding. So what I did is I just went to the machine and I just stitched in order to come up with this string. So we have 1 for the neck and 2 for the back ties. Okay, so the one I did for the neck is this one. It's shorter, it's about 23 inches. You can cut yours 24, 25. You can actually cut all three, between 24 to 25 inches. It should work fine, but the 23-inch one is fine with me. So let me see before I use the wrong one. So these long ones are for the sides. So what should happen now is just we're going to place the lining on top. So right sides facing, and sometimes you get fabrics that are very difficult to distinguish between the right side and the wrong side. So when you do find the distinction, just mark it. I put an X there to make it easy for me when I'm placing, so that I don't make a mistake. Okay, so I'm just placing it right sides facing, just making sure all the edges align. I'm going to pull this. Okay, when you're happy with how you line them, then you take the strings. Which one is for the neck? This one, the short one. Okay, just gonna, okay, I thought it was still hanging. So I'm just going to use my pins and place the I'm going to use about 1 inch to stitch this. So I'm just going to use my pins to hold it in place. Okay, yeah, the pin is blunt, so make sure that it's going in the same direction. Okay, so you place it that way, hold it in with your pins. Okay, and then also you see where that corner is, just by the edge, that's where you're going to place the strings, these ones, the back ties. I call them back ties. Okay, so I don't know that you can see this. Okay, so I think it was not in view, so I'm going to do this again so that you can see. I didn't see that it was not, you know, in view. So this is the string for the neck. This is the shorter one for me. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to sandwich it in between the main lining and the main fabric and the lining. Okay, so right sides are facing here. So what you do is you take the string, you place it. Okay, it's going to be inside, no? Because we want it to be on the outer edge. Okay, so you're just going to, I'm going to use 1 inch on top to stitch there. Okay, so Just make sure it's not twisted on the inside as you are placing it, because it means you have to undo these seams in order to correct it. Okay, so you place it inside, just leave it inside, okay, like that. Okay, and then you're going to come, you see this corner where this, I call it the armhole, there at this pointed edge, that's where you're going to place the tie backs or the strings for the back. You're also going to put them inside. They should be inside, so one edge remains here. Just place it nicely there by the edge. Use pins to attach it. Then I'm just going to put some pins here as well. Okay. Okay. Turn it, and then we're going to place the other string, this one. Okay. Leave that string. So you place it inside, which will be the outer part or the right side. Okay, so just place it in like that. Okay, and then you cover it with your lining this way. Okay, and then hold it in with your pins. Just gonna put my pins here. And then you're going to pin around, and we're going to go to the machine. We're going to stitch around, okay, this way. Okay, pin it. Okay, I'm going to leave. So here, I normally leave, you can leave about half an inch or an inch when you get to this edge, so that you are able to stitch this one. Remember, this is longer than this, so it's going to give you issues if you pin up to the edge there. You see, let me just bring it closer. If you pin all the way here, it becomes difficult for you to stitch. So I normally leave about, let me put this way, I normally leave about 1 inch or half an inch. It should be enough there, and then you hold this fabric together with the lining and you pin it that way. Now the small pins. Okay, so we're just going to pin around, and we're going to go to the machine. We're going to stitch around, we're going to flip it in. I'll show you where I'll leave a space. You have to leave a space so that you're able to flip this to the right side. Otherwise, if you stitch everything, it means you can't flip it to the right side. You'll be stuck somewhere. So you can decide where you want to leave your opening. I'll leave my opening at the top, so that when I'm closing that opening, I'll just make a straight stitch across the chest to make it kind of uniform. Don't even know if it's there, you know, so that it's easier that way. It will look as if it was meant to be a top stitch that way. Okay, but in actual sense it will be a top stitch, but it also will be where we close off our opening. And you can do that with any part of the apron. I used to find this quite, it used to be a challenge when I started using this technique, because I didn't know that I had to leave this space. Okay, so like I said, remember I've left this space here. It's about an inch. You can leave an inch, half an inch, so that you're able to hold this, okay, when you're stitching. Don't give you issues. So when you come on your machine, you're going to, from here, you are stitching around all the way, and when you get here, it will be easy for you to just continue that way. After you've stitched that, then you can close it this way and then stitch on top of this side. I don't know that you get me, okay? In order to stitch here, because you see there is this hole because we've left that 1 inch open. So what you do, as you come with your stitch, you stitch all the way, okay? You continue all the way here. You just continue straight up to the edge. You continue here all the way, and then you pivot, go that other way, pivot, and then you come this way. Once you've done your stitching, you can now put this thing down, and then you make a stitch here. It will align. This stitch should align with your stitch that will be coming from here. So it will be from that corner up to here. Okay, the same thing, so that you close off this opening. Okay, so that's just what we're going to do. I'm just pinning it so that it will be easy. When I go to the machine, it will just be a quick stitch around and then we're done. Okay, I just don't want it to move. Yeah, you know what? These pins are blunt. I need to buy the pegs. You know, there are those tiny pegs that I see, especially for delicate fabrics, because they don't make holes. You need to get those. Okay, so here by the top here, this is where it will be by our chest. The apron will be here. So we're going to leave about, let's say 3 inches or 4 inches open. Let me put the pins this way so that I know. Okay, so you leave about 3 to 4 inches open, and this is where we're going to flip everything to the right side. Okay, I think this should be enough. You're going to leave some space open there, and then now after we've stitched everywhere, now we're going to come here and then flip everything to the right side. We're going to press it nicely, and then we're going to close off this part. But in order for the stitch not to be here, unless you're very good at making an invisible stitch, it will be visible because it will be on the outside. So to avoid that, when we have flipped it to the right side, we're just going to top stitch from this edge to that edge, so that we make it look as if, you know, that is how it was meant to be. It was going to be a top stitch all the way from this edge to that edge, and then our apron will be done. Okay, so I'll see you just now. I'm just going to the machine. I'm going to start from here. I'm going to go all the way around. I'm going to stitch all the way. When I get here, I'm going to come here and then continue. I'm going round and I'll come and stop here to leave that. This is the space we're going to leave. And then after I've done that stitch, I'm going to put this down. Okay, I'm going to flip this down, and I'm going to do a stitch now that will be from here to here. This stitch will be in line with this stitch that I'm going to make, so that we can close this opening, and otherwise you're going to have this hole in the corners and you don't want that. Okay, so I'm going to the machine and I'll show you how our apron looks like when we're done. Okay, so I went on to join the lining to the main piece of the apron. So what we have here, hope you can see, is I've joined it, and you can see the space where I left here on top. So this is the space where I left, and we're going to be flipping this to the right side, and then we're going to press it, and our apron is done. So what I did was I started here. I hope you can see that. I started from here and I went round all the way to the end, and I showed you how I was going to stitch, and then I would fold the main fabric over and then stitch like this, and just join that stitch to the stitch so that we could close the edges here. So what I did was I stitched up to the end, and then I went that way to the other end. After I finished here, I pivoted. After I'd sewn everything, then I came back to close this side. So I just flipped the fabric over and then I stitched on top. So for me, I find that to be easier. There could be other methods of you sewing it when you have I forgot my thread cutter somewhere. Okay, so as I was saying, there are other ways in which you can sew it when you have a shorter lining to stitch, but that works for me. So I'm just flipping this over, and you can see we have our apron looking so nice. So you're just going to go ahead and poke out the corners, and then we're going to just press our apron. You can see doing it that way, it means you have no raw edges showing. So you have something like this. It's going to be something like this. I'm going to poke out the edges. You can even use maybe a pin or a needle like this, you see, because you want your edge to be pointed out. So we have this. Okay, so you can see the corner is sharp here because I cut off the excess. So you can do this. I'm just using a needle. You can use a pin or anything sharp. Okay, you just have to be careful with your fabric so that you don't make a hole there. Okay, so you can see this is how our apron looks on the inside. The only thing that's left now is for us to go and press it. Just need to press it well. Here also, this is the sides. We have our strings attached there. Okay, I'm going to try this on for you so that you can see how it fits. And yeah, we have our neck string is also attached. So basically our apron is done. I attached interfacing to this piece, and now this area, this is where I really left. I don't want to use my scissors for the thread to make it blunt, but anyway, I'll cut this off. So what is supposed to happen, remember, this is where we flipped it from the inside to the outside. So what we're going to do, what I was saying is, I didn't want to have a stitch that would go from here to here, just closing there. So instead of doing it that way, I am going to do a top stitch from this edge all the way to that edge. Okay, so that it looks uniform and you won't even know where was this lining turned from. Okay, so this is our apron. I'm going to put it on for you, and you can go ahead and make yours. You can make for your loved ones, you can make for sailing, and yeah, it's a very easy and beginner friendly tutorial. So if you liked this tutorial, please don't forget to subscribe, share, and I'll see you on our next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.